How dogs tracked their humans across the ancient world by David Grimm. Science. Sometimes toward the end of the last ice age, a grey wolf gingerly approaches a human accompaniment. Those first tentative steps set his species on the path of a dramatic transformation. By at least 15,000 years ago, those wolves had become dogs, and neither they nor their human companions will ever be the same. But just how this relationship evolved over the ensuing millennia has been a mystery. Now, in the most comprehensive comparisons yet of ancient dog and human DNA, scientists are starting to fill in some of the blanks, revealing where dogs and humans traveled together and where they may have parted ways. It's a really cool study, says Wolfgang Hack, an archaeogenetics at the Max Planck Institute for the Science Human History. We're finally starting to see how the dog's story and the human story match up. Dogs are one of the biggest animal enigmas of domestication. Despite decades of studies, scientists still haven't figured it out when or where they arose, much less how or why it happened. In 2016, a study concluded that dogs may have been domesticated twice, once in Asia and once in Europe or the Near East, but critics says there wasn't enough evidence to be sure. A few years later, researchers reported signs of dogs in the Americas as early as 10,000 years ago, yet those canines appear to have vanished without a genetic trace. Other studies have found evidence of ancient dogs in Siberia and elsewhere, but scientists don't know how they got there or how they are related. To fill in some of the blanks, two big names in dog and human genetics teamed up. Greger Larson, an evolutionary biologist at the University of Oxford, and Pontus Skoglund, a paleogenomicist at the Francis Crick Institute. Larsen, Skoglund, and colleagues sifted through more than 2,000 sets of ancient dogs remains dating back nearly 11,000 years from Europe, Siberia, and the Near East. In the process, they added 27 ancient dogs' genomes to the 5 already on record. They then compared those with the genomes of 17 humans living in the same places and times as the dogs. The dog DNA alone revealed some surprises. As early as 11,000 years ago, there were already 5 distinct dog lineages. This gave rise to canines in Near East, Northern Europe, Siberia, New Guinea, and the Americas. The team reports today in Science because dogs had already diversified so much by that time. Domestication had occurred long before them, Knogluk says. That fits with archaeological evidence. The oldest definitive dog remains come from Germany about 15,000 years 16,000 years ago. Remarkably, pieces of these ancient lineages are still present in today's pushes. Chihuahuas can trace some of their ancestry to early American dogs. For example, whereas Husky sports genetic signatures of ancient Siberian dogs, the team found if you see a bunch of different dogs in a dog park, Kloglu says, they may all have different ancestries that trace all back way 11,000 years. See the figure below. Today dogs can trace their ancestry to canines that lived up to 11,000 years ago. When the researchers compared their dog DNA with modern and ancient wolf DNA, they got another surprise. Most domesticated animals pick up genetic material from their wild relatives, even after domestication, because the two species often live in close proximity and can still mate. Think pigs and wild boars, but dogs show not such gene flow from wolf. Instead, the wolves gained new DNA from the dogs, a one-way street. Larson chalked this up to the intimate relationship between dogs and humans. If your pig or chicken becomes a bit wilder thanks to an infusion of feral DNA, it doesn't matter because you are going to eat them anyway, he explains. But dogs that go native make bodyguards, hunting companions, and friends. If you are a dog and you have to beat a wolf that's terrible. If you're a dog and you have a bit of a wolf in you, that's terrible, Larson says. People will get rid of the dog. The wolf dog analysis also suggested dogs evolved only once from a non-extinct wolf population. Still, Larson, who led the 2016 study on multiple domestication events, says more data are needed to seal the deal. Then the scientists brought human into the mix. They selected human DNA samples from the same places and areas for which they had ancient canine DNA and traced the genetic story of each. It's like you have an ancient next in two different languages and you're looking to see how both languages have changed over time, Skoglu says. In many places, the team found a strong overlap between humans and dog genomes. For example, farmers and their pups in Sweden about 5,000 years ago both traced their ancestry to the Near East. This suggests early farmers took their dogs with them as agriculture spread throughout the continent. Where large as humans moved, they moved with their dogs, Larson says. But sometimes the stories didn't match up. Farmers in Germany about 7,000 years ago also came from the Near East and also lived with dogs. But those animals seem more similar to hunter-gathered pups, which came from Siberian Europe. That suggests many early migrants adopted local dogs that were better adapted to their new environment, Hack says. The benefits were many, adds Peter Savolainen, a geneticist at the Royal Institute of Technology and an expert on dogs' origin. They were cute. You could use them. You could even eat them. Savolainen calls the study very thorough and adds, it's fantastic that the researchers were able to bring together so many data. But he has long argued that dogs arose in Southeast Asia and says the work is incomplete without samples from that corner of the globe. Without those, you couldn't be missing an important part of the picture. For now, Larson says his team is analyzing a ton of wolf and dog genomes, and he and his colleagues have also begun to look at ancient skull shape and genetic markers that could give clues to what the early dogs looked like. Whatever he finds, he's counting on being surprised. We have to expect the unexpected, he says, because that's all ancient DNA ever give us.